The Peninsula Hotel Grand Ballroom went from a symphony of celebration to suffocating silence in the span of a heartbeat. 500 of Chicago's elite, tech billionaires, venture capitalists, politicians, social media influencers, all frozen mid-champagne toast, mid-conversation, mid-laugh. The orchestra kept playing Vivaldi, but nobody was listening anymore. Every eye in that gilded room turned toward the entrance. Toward me. Toward the two 7-year-old children holding my hands. My ex-husband, Jeffrey Miller, stood on a raised platform at the center of the ballroom, his hand possessively placed on his fiancée Alice Coleman's baby bump. He was mid-sentence in what was clearly meant to be the grand announcement of the evening, the start of the Miller bloodline, the heir to his billion-dollar empire. His custom Tom Ford tuxedo probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. His Patek Philippe watch caught the Swarovski chandelier light just right. He looked powerful. He looked successful. He looked like a man who had rewritten history to erase the inconvenient parts. Then he saw us. I watched my ex-husband's face drain of color like someone had opened a valve. His mouth fell open, but no sound came out. His hand dropped from Alice's belly like he'd touched fire. My son Marcus stood to my left in a navy suit we'd found at Goodwill and tailored ourselves. My daughter Maya stood to my right in a yellow dress my sister made by hand. Both of them stared up at the crowd with those unmistakable Miller family eyes, that distinctive amber brown that looks gold in certain light. The same sharp jawline. The same high cheekbones. The same slight dimple when they're thinking hard. My voice cut through the silence, clear and steady in a way I'd practiced 1,000 times in my head. Sorry we're late, everyone. The children wanted to see where their father works. 2 pairs of golden eyes locked onto the man on the platform. The man who told the world I was too career-focused to have children. The man who claimed I was the reason our marriage failed. Marcus, my brave 7-year-old, tilted his head and asked in that clear way only children can, "Mama, is that him? Is that really our daddy?" The ballroom erupted in whispers. A woman near the platform, Diane Richardson, I recognized her from Chicago Tribune Society pages, pulled out her phone, frantically scrolling. Her voice carried across the room, "Jeffrey, these children look exactly like your baby photos." Exactly. Another voice, sharper, "Wait, didn't you say your ex-wife couldn't have children? Didn't you build your whole family values brand on that?" Alice Coleman's face had gone chalk white. "Jeffrey, who is this? What is she talking about?" Jeffrey finally found his voice, strangled and desperate. "Cindy, what are you? How did you? What is this?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I'm telling the truth, Jeffrey. Something you made legally impossible for me to do for 7 years." Now, before I take you back to the beginning of this story, to show you exactly how a billionaire can erase a pregnant wife from existence, how he can rewrite history with money and lawyers, and how 2 children can be kept secret for 7 years, I need you to do something for me. If you have ever been silenced by someone with more power than you, if you have ever been erased from someone's narrative because the truth was inconvenient, if you have ever raised children alone while their other parent played the victim, if you have ever been called broken when you were actually the strongest person in the room, hit that like and subscribe button right now, because this story is for you. Now let me take you back. Back to San Francisco, 7 years ago. Back to the penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and original artwork and a view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Back to when I was a different woman. A woman who believed her husband when he said forever. A woman who had no idea that Jeffrey Miller, visionary CEO, was about to throw me away like yesterday's paperwork. It was our 5th wedding anniversary. I remember because I'd spent the afternoon getting ready. New dress, hair done, makeup perfect. I'd made reservations at Jeffrey's favorite restaurant, the one where he proposed. Our penthouse smelled like the candles I'd lit. Soft jazz played from the speakers. I'd even bought champagne, the expensive kind he liked. I was standing by the window, watching the fog roll in over the bay, when I heard his key card in the lock. 7 p.m. Right on time. I turned, smiling. "Hey, honey. Happy anniversary." Jeffrey walked in, still in his suit. He didn't smile back. He set his briefcase down, pulled an envelope from his jacket. and said 5 words that destroyed my entire world. "Cindy, I want a divorce." I stared at the envelope in Jeffrey's hand like it might bite me. The champagne I'd bought sat sweating on the marble counter. Our wedding photo, the one from Napa, sunset behind us, his arms wrapped around my waist, stared at me from the mantel. "What?" The word came out small. Confused. Jeffrey didn't sit down. Didn't take off his coat. Just stood there in our living room like he was delivering a quarterly report to the board. "I've had my attorneys draw up the paperwork. Everything's handled. The settlement is generous. More than fair, actually. You'll sign an NDA, of course." My hands went numb. "Jeffrey, I don't. What are you talking about? It's our anniversary." "Cindy." He said my name like he was explaining something to a child. "We've been trying for 3 years. 3 years of fertility treatments, specialists, procedures. I've built Miller Media into a billion-dollar company. I need an heir. A legacy. I can't waste more time on something that clearly isn't working." Waste. Time. Like I was a bad investment. "The doctors said it takes time sometimes," I whispered. "They said we should keep." "I don't have time." He loosened his tie, finally showing some emotion, impatience. "I'm 42 years old. Alice is 26. She's young. Healthy. Viable." The name hit me like a slap. "Alice? Alice Coleman? Your assistant. She understands what I'm building. She's ready to be the mother of the Miller legacy. You." He gestured vaguely at me, at our apartment, at everything we'd built together. "You're a good person, Cindy. But you can't give me what I need." I couldn't breathe. "So you're just throwing me away. 5 years of marriage, and you're replacing me because I haven't gotten pregnant fast enough. Don't be dramatic. Read the settlement. You'll be taken care of financially. But I need you out by the end of the month. Alice is already pregnant. 3 months. We're getting married in June." The room tilted. 3 months. He'd been sleeping with her for 3 months. While I was taking hormone shots that made me sick. While I was tracking ovulation like a second job. While I was praying every month that this time, we'd finally have the baby he claimed to want. "You're choosing her," I said numbly, "because she got pregnant." "I'm choosing my future, Cindy." He checked his watch, that platinum Patek Philippe I'd saved for months to buy him. "Sign the papers. Move on. This is business." Then Jeffrey Miller, the man who'd promised me forever, walked out of our penthouse. And I stood there, holding champagne for an anniversary dinner that would never happen, wondering how I'd become so disposable. The Sundown Motel on Mission Street smelled like cigarettes and bleach. $89 a night. Stained carpet. A TV that only got 3 channels. A bathroom where the shower leaked and the mirror had a crack running through it like a fault line. This was my life now. Jeffrey's lawyers had moved fast. The penthouse, the car, the credit cards, all gone within 2 weeks. The NDA came with a single wire transfer and a threat. Stay silent about the marriage, the divorce, the circumstances, or face legal annihilation. I'd signed because I had $1,700 in my personal account and nowhere else to go. My mother had offered her couch in Oakland, but I couldn't face her yet. Couldn't face the pity. The "I told you so" she'd never say, but I'd see in her eyes. So I stayed in the motel and applied for jobs and tried not to think about the fact that my husband, ex-husband, was planning a wedding while I counted quarters for the vending machine. I'd been feeling sick for 2 weeks. Exhausted. Nauseous. I blamed it on stress, on the cheap takeout, on the fact that I was sleeping 4 hours a night on a mattress that felt like cardboard. But when I missed my period, something cold settled in my stomach. The pregnancy test cost $12.99 at the CVS on the corner. I took it back to room 14, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. 2 pink lines. I stared at those lines until they blurred. Then I bought 3 more tests. 4 different brands. All positive. The free clinic confirmed it a week later. "Congratulations," the nurse said, smiling. You're about 8 weeks along. Everything looks healthy. Then she moved the ultrasound wand and her smile widened. Oh. Wait. Do you see this? I looked at the grainy black and white screen, not understanding. You're having twins, honey. 2 heartbeats. Right there. Twins. Twins. I sat in that clinic waiting room for an hour afterward, just staring at the ultrasound photos. 2 tiny beans. 2 futures. 2 lives. Jeffrey had called me barren. Infertile. Broken. He'd replaced me with a woman he called viable. He'd told his lawyers, his friends, probably his board of directors that I couldn't give him children. And now I was sitting in a motel bathroom, pregnant with 2 of them. The irony would have been funny if I wasn't completely terrified. I had $87 left. No job. No health insurance. No apartment. And 2 babies growing inside me who'd never know their father. I pressed my hand to my stomach and made a promise in that cracked motel mirror. I'll figure this out. Somehow. I told myself he deserved to know. That despite everything, despite the cruelty and the replacement and the NDA, Jeffrey had a right to know he was going to be a father. Twice over. So I called his office. His assistant, not Alice, someone new, told me Mr. Miller wasn't taking personal calls. I left my number. He never called back. I emailed him. The message bounced back. This address no longer accepts messages from your account. I tried texting. Blocked. Finally, 3 weeks after the ultrasound, I took the bus to Miller Media headquarters downtown. I wore the one professional dress I still owned and carried the ultrasound photos in my purse like evidence. The lobby was all glass and steel and modern art that cost more than most people's houses. I approached the security desk, heart hammering. I need to see Jeffrey Miller. Please. It's important. The guard, 6'4", arms like tree trunks, didn't even look up. Do you have an appointment? No, but I'm his. I was his wife. I need 5 minutes. Please. Now he looked up. Recognition flickered across his face. Ms. Brown. I have specific instructions regarding you. You need to leave the building. I just need to talk to him. 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you one more time to leave voluntarily. I didn't move. Couldn't.
I'm pregnant.
With his children. He needs to. The guard picked up his phone. Within 2 minutes, 3 more security personnel appeared. And behind them, a man in a suit carrying a briefcase, one of Jeffrey's lawyers. I recognized him from the divorce. Ms. Brown. His voice was ice. You signed a non-disclosure agreement that explicitly prohibits contact with Mr. Miller. You are in violation of that agreement. If you do not leave immediately, we will pursue a restraining order and sue you for breach of contract. The damages would be substantial, far more than you could ever pay. I'm carrying his children, I said, louder now. People in the lobby were staring. Twins. He has a right to. Mr. Miller has made his position clear. Any further contact will be considered harassment. He nodded to the security guards. Escort her out. They didn't touch me, but they didn't need to. For massive men surrounding a pregnant woman in a corporate lobby sent the message clearly enough. I left. On the bus ride back to the motel, I finally understood. Jeffrey Miller had billions of dollars, an army of lawyers, and a wedding to plan. I had ultrasound photos and $87. This wasn't a fight I could win. So I stopped trying to reach him. I put my hand on my stomach, felt the flutter of 2 lives growing there, and made a different choice. I'd do this alone. Leo and Maya were born on a Tuesday in October at SF General Hospital. 6 pounds each. Perfect. Beautiful. Exhausting. I brought them home to a 1-bedroom apartment in the Tenderloin that cost $1,800 a month and had bars on the windows. My mother helped when she could, but she was working 2 jobs herself. Most nights, it was just me, 2 crying babies, and a terror so deep I could taste it. I worked 3 jobs that first year. Morning shift at a coffee shop in the financial district, 4 a.m. to noon, minimum wage plus tips. Afternoons doing data entry remotely while the twins napped. Evenings cleaning offices downtown after I put Leo and Maya to bed and my mother came to watch them. I slept 4 hours a night. Sometimes 3. I bought diapers at the dollar store and formula with WIC vouchers and clothes from Goodwill. I learned which grocery stores discounted their produce on Wednesdays. I learned to make a rotisserie chicken last 5 days. I learned that pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. The twins turned 1. Then 2. Then 3. And every single time I turned on the TV, there he was. Jeffrey Miller, billionaire media mogul, expanding his empire. Jeffrey Miller at charity galas with Alice on his arm, her diamond ring catching every flash. Jeffrey Miller on the cover of Forbes, building a legacy. Jeffrey Miller launching a new streaming platform. Jeffrey Miller buying a yacht. A second home in Aspen. A third in the Hamptons. Jeffrey Miller talking about family values on morning shows while I chose between paying the electric bill and buying Leo new shoes because he'd outgrown his old ones. The twins looked like him. It was undeniable. Those Miller blue eyes, that sharp jawline, the way they both tilted their heads when they were thinking. Strangers noticed. Beautiful children, they'd say. Such unusual eyes for, they'd stop themselves, but I knew what they meant. 4 black kids. For my kids. Who's our daddy? Maya asked when she was 5, watching other kids get picked up by 2 parents at daycare. I knelt down, looked into those blue eyes, his eyes, and said, "Your daddy made a choice a long time ago. But you have me. And Grandma. And that's enough." It had to be enough. Because while Jeffrey Miller built his billion-dollar brand on family and legacy and values, I was raising his actual legacy in a cramped apartment, trying to make $17 stretch until Friday. The universe has a sense of irony. I just didn't know yet how perfect that irony would become. Jeffrey Miller didn't think about Cindy Brown anymore. Why would he? That chapter was closed, sealed with NDAs and settlements and 7 years of silence. He had everything now. Miller Media had quadrupled in value. The streaming platform was profitable. The magazine acquisitions were paying off. His face was on billboards, his quotes in business journals, his advice sought by Fortune 500 CEOs. And Alice. Beautiful, devoted Alice, who understood what it meant to build something that mattered. "Mr. Miller, we have the reporter from Vanity Fair on line 2, his new assistant said. "The profile piece." Jeffrey picked up, smiling. He'd done 100 of these interviews. They always asked the same questions. "So, Jeffrey, you've built this incredible empire focused on family-oriented content. Tell us about your own family journey." He leaned back in his leather chair, the practiced answer rolling off his tongue. "My first marriage was a learning experience. We were young. Incompatible. She wanted different things than I did, couldn't handle the pressure of building something this big. We divorced amicably years ago. No children, thankfully, so it was clean." The lie came easily now. He'd told it so many times it almost felt true. "And now you're expecting your first child with your wife Alice." "That's right. It's been a long wait, but we're finally starting the Miller legacy. Alice has been an incredible partner in every sense. She understands what I'm building, what we're building together." The reporter ate it up. They always did. That evening, Jeffrey came home to their Pacific Heights mansion. 6 bedrooms, panoramic bay views, a nursery already decorated in soft grays and whites. Alice was on the couch, one hand on her 7-month belly, scrolling through her tablet. "The gala planner needs final approval on the seating chart," she said, looking up. "And we should finalize your speech. This is going to be the event of the year, Jeffrey. Every major donor, every board member, press coverage. The Miller Legacy Gala. His idea. A celebration of family values, charitable giving, and the announcement of his heir. The timing was perfect. Alice's pregnancy, the company's record profits, his 50th birthday. "I want to announce the baby's gender during my speech," Jeffrey said. "Maximum impact. We'll have the photographers positioned perfectly." Alice smiled. "They're going to love it." The self-made billionaire, finally becoming a father. Building a dynasty. Exactly. Jeffrey poured himself a scotch, looking out at the city lights. This is what legacy looks like. He never once thought about the woman raising 2 7-year-olds in a Tenderloin apartment. Never once considered that his carefully constructed narrative might have a fatal flaw. Never once imagined that the past he'd erased was about to walk through the door and destroy everything. The interview aired on a Wednesday morning. I was getting the twins ready for school, braiding Maya's hair while Leo searched for his library book, when Jeffrey's face filled the TV screen. Good Morning America was doing a segment on successful entrepreneurs. Of course they were talking to him. So you've built this media empire on family values, the host said, all smiles. Tell us about your own family. I should have changed the channel. But I didn't. Jeffrey laughed that charming laugh I used to know. Well, Robin, I'm about to become a father for the first time. My wife Alice and I are expecting. It's taken us a while to get here, but we're incredibly blessed. First time. My hands stilled in Maya's hair. No previous children, the host asked. No children. I was married once before, briefly, but it didn't work out. Wrong person, wrong time. But now everything has fallen into place. Leo looked up from his backpack. Mom, is that the man in the photo? The one Grandma said is our dad. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Why doesn't he want us? Leo's voice was so small. 7 years old and already learning what rejection felt like. Did we do something wrong? Maya turned to look at me, waiting for an answer I didn't have. No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing at all. But that night, after I put them to bed, I sat in my tiny kitchen and watched the interview again on my phone. Watched Jeffrey smile and talk about family values and his first child while my children, his children, slept in bunk beds in the next room. Then I saw the next segment. A promo for the Miller Legacy Gala. Join us next month as Jeffrey Miller celebrates family, philanthropy, and the next generation of the Miller dynasty. The next generation. Like Leo and Maya didn't exist. I thought about 7 years of silence. 7 years of struggling alone while he played happy family on magazine covers. 7 years of watching my children ask questions I couldn't answer. I thought about Leo's face when he asked why his father didn't want him. And something inside me that had been bending for 7 years finally snapped. I pulled up the gala details. Alumni welcome. Public event. Press coverage. I opened my closet and found the one black dress I owned that still fit. Then I called my mother. Can you watch the twins on the 15th? I need to go somewhere. Where? I stared at Jeffrey's face frozen on my phone screen. To tell the truth. The Miller Foundation Charity Gala was even more extravagant up close. Valet parking for cars that cost more than houses. Women in gowns that could feed my family for a year. Men in tuxedos, laughing with champagne flutes, completely unaware that their perfect evening was about to implode. I'd borrowed my mother's car. Dressed Leo in his church clothes, navy slacks and a crisp white shirt. Maya wore a navy dress I'd found at Target, her hair in 2 perfect puffs. They looked beautiful. Nervous. Perfect. Are we really going to meet our dad? Maya whispered as we approached the entrance. Yes, baby. We really are. The doorman checked the guest list. I'd registered under my maiden name, Hayes. Cindy Hayes, Northwestern alumna. Technically true. Technically allowed. We stepped into the ballroom just as Jeffrey took the stage. The timing was perfect. Unplanned, but perfect. He was mid-sentence, his hand resting on Alice's pregnant belly, smiling that billion-dollar smile. And I'm proud to announce that the Miller legacy, the future of this family, begins. The doors behind us closed with an echoing bang. 300 heads turned. I held Leo's hand tighter on my right, Maya's on my left, and I walked down that center aisle like it was my wedding day, my courtroom, my reckoning. The crowd parted. Conversations died. Someone gasped. Jeffrey saw us. I watched every drop of color drain from his face. His hand fell from Alice's stomach. The microphone slipped, feedback screaming through the speakers. Our eyes met across that ballroom, and I saw it: recognition, shock, terror. "Sorry we're late, everyone." My voice carried perfectly in the silence. The twins wanted to see where Daddy works. Leo and Maya stood on either side of me, two 7-year-olds with Jeffrey Miller's unmistakable blue eyes staring at 300 witnesses. A woman near the front pulled out her phone, fingers flying. Then another. Then 10 more. Those children. Do you see their eyes? They look exactly like. Alice's voice cracked. "Jeffrey, who is this?" I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. Walked straight to the stage. Jeffrey stood frozen as I placed it in his hand. "Paternity test," I said clearly. "From 7 years ago. The one I mailed to your office that came back unopened. 99.9% match. Would you like to read it to your guests, or should I?" A camera flash went off. Then another. Then 50. "You told everyone I was infertile," I continued. "You told America you had no children. You called me broken." I gestured to Leo and Maya. "Do they look broken to you?" By midnight, we were trending worldwide. #Miller twins. #Miller legacy lies. #Jeffrey Miller exposed. I sat in my apartment, the same cramped Tenderloin one-bedroom, watching my life explode across every screen. The twins were asleep in their bunk beds, exhausted from the chaos. My mother sat beside me on the couch, scrolling through her phone with wide eyes. "Cindy, there are 12 million views on Twitter alone. 12 million. Someone had live-streamed the entire confrontation. The video was everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, the news. That moment when Jeffrey's face went white. When Leo and Maya stood there with those undeniable Miller blue eyes. When I handed him the paternity test. The screenshots were even worse. Side-by-side comparisons of Jeffrey at 7 years old next to Leo now. The resemblance was genetic evidence you didn't need a lab to confirm. CNN ran it at 11 p.m. Billionaire Jeffrey Miller's secret children revealed at charity gala. The twins he claimed didn't exist. MSNBC, Miller Media stocks plunged 23% after shocking paternity revelation. Fox Business, investors questioning Miller's credibility after hidden children surface. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters, lawyers, people I hadn't spoken to in years. I'd turned it off after the 50th call. But I watched Jeffrey try to control the narrative. Of course I did. His PR team released a statement at 2 a.m. Mr. Miller was unaware of Ms. Brown's pregnancy. He is processing this new information and will be seeking legal counsel regarding custody arrangements. The internet tore him apart. Unaware. She mailed you a paternity test. He literally said he had no children on national TV last week. Those kids are 7. You've been unaware for 7 years. By morning, someone had leaked the NDA. The settlement terms. The security footage from Miller Media headquarters showing me being escorted out 7 years ago, visibly pregnant, surrounded by guards. A former employee came forward. I saw letters addressed to Jeffrey from Cindy Brown. Alice Coleman told me to return them unopened. She knew. That's when Alice released her own statement. I have been deceived by Jeffrey Miller regarding the existence of his children. I am seeking legal counsel and separating from my husband effective immediately. The child I am carrying deserves better than a father who lies. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. 3 major advertisers pulled their contracts. The stock dropped another 15 points. And Jeffrey Miller, the man who'd built an empire on family values, watched it crumble on live television. I closed my laptop and checked on the twins. Still sleeping. Still safe. Still mine. Jeffrey's lawyers filed for joint custody 3 days after the gala. Not because he wanted to be a father. Because his PR team told him it was the only way to salvage his image. The first meeting happened in a conference room downtown. Neutral territory. Court-ordered mediation before the custody hearing. Jeffrey showed up in a suit that cost more than my car, flanked by 3 attorneys. I had one, a family law specialist my mother's church had connected me with who was working partly pro bono. "We're prepared to offer a generous arrangement," Jeffrey's lead attorney said, sliding papers across the table. 50-50 custody. Full financial support. Private school tuition. Trust funds. The children would want for nothing. I looked at the numbers. They were obscene. Life-changing. "Mr. Miller wants to be involved in his children's lives," the lawyer continued. "He's committed to being a present father." Where was that commitment 7 years ago? My attorney's voice was sharp. When Ms. Brown was escorted from his building by security while pregnant. Jeffrey finally spoke, looking directly at me for the first time since the gala. "I didn't know, Cindy. If I'd known." "You did know. I called. I emailed. I showed up. You had me thrown out and threatened with a restraining order." His jaw tightened. "I'm trying to make this right." "You're trying to save your company." The mediator intervened. "Perhaps we should hear from the children. At 7, the court does consider their preferences." That's how Leo and Maya ended up in a child psychologist's office the following week, talking to a court-appointed evaluator. I waited outside, nails digging into my palms. When they emerged, the psychologist asked to speak with me privately. "Ms. Brown," I asked the children how they felt about spending time with their father. About the possibility of living in a big house, going to a fancy school, having everything they wanted. My heart hammered. "And?" Leo said, "We already have everything we want. We have Mom." She paused, consulting her notes. Maya said, "Why would we want to live with someone who didn't want us when we were babies? Mom wanted us. Mom chose us." I pressed my hand to my mouth, tears burning my eyes. "They're very clear, Ms. Brown. They feel safe with you. They feel loved. Money doesn't change that." 2 weeks later, the judge awarded me primary custody. Jeffrey got supervised visitation, which he attended twice before his lawyers quietly filed to reduce it to monthly. Turns out billionaires don't actually want to be fathers. They just want to look like they do. The Miller Media Board voted Jeffrey out 6 months after the gala. Not because of morality, corporations don't work that way, but because the stock price never recovered. Advertisers kept pulling out. The family values brand he'd built was irrevocably tainted. They offered him a settlement. As for me, a literary agent reached out 3 weeks after the gala video went viral. "Have you considered writing a book?" I hadn't. I was too busy working, raising the twins, trying to process the whirlwind my life had become. But she was persistent. "Your story matters. Not just the drama, the survival. Single mothers need to hear this." So I wrote it. Late nights after the twins went to bed, on my phone at first, then on a used laptop my mother bought me. I wrote about the penthouse and the motel, the fertility treatments and the isolation, the 3 jobs and the food stamps. The moment I saw those 2 pink lines and realized I'd have to do this alone. Discarded, How I Raised My Billionaire Ex's Secret Twins, came out 18 months later. It hit the New York Times bestseller list in week 2. Suddenly there was money. Real money. Enough to move out of the Tenderloin into a 3-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood with good schools. Enough to quit 2 of my jobs and actually be present for the twins. Enough to breathe. The book tour was surreal. Women lined up at every event, some crying, sharing their own stories of being called broken, being abandoned, being told they weren't enough. "You gave me hope," one woman said, clutching her copy. "I'm raising 3 kids alone, and I thought I was failing. But you showed me that survival is success." Now Leo and Maya are 9. They're thriving, honor roll students, happy kids who know exactly how much they're loved. They ask about their father sometimes, less and less as time goes on. "Do you think he ever thinks about us?" Maya asked last week. I pulled her close. "I don't know, baby. But I think about you every single second. And that's what matters." She smiled and went back to her homework. Jeffrey Miller wanted a legacy. An empire. his name on buildings and in history books. Instead, his legacy is two beautiful children who don't need him, and the mother who proved that love, not money, builds what lasts. Thanks for sticking with me until the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit like so you're the first to hear our next story. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I can't wait to hear from you.